I am again thankful to all news media outlets for letting me use their contents. I greatly appreciate that. I am available 24/7 if they need any assistance. Now go to the headlines. Hi and very warm welcome at Amir Shackle 5858. I am Amir Shackle. Following news headlines have been reported by world major English news channels and news agencies. So please watch it.
This is The World Today here on France 24. I'm Stuart Moore. Good to have you with us for the next 3 hours. Here's the main headlines then. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky arriving in Paris later ahead of crucial European coalition summit on Ukraine. Zelensky saying he needs to know which countries will agree to contribute forces to oversee any peace agreements with Russia. We'll get all the reaction to that and of course that deal yesterday with our senior reporter Catherine Morris-Trent, who'll join us from Kharkiv in Ukraine shortly. Approaching 1,500 people now detained in Turkey as tens of thousands of continued protests on the streets. Protests sparked by the arrest of the main political rival of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. And at least 18 people killed now as wildfires deemed among South Korea's worst ever continue to ravage the south of the country. Amongst more than 200 buildings destroyed, an ancient Buddhist temple. Also coming up for your business today, the UK Labour government announcing defence spending boost, welfare cuts and facing backlash. Charles will see what we can expect from the so-called spring statements later in the day. In perspective, we discuss how the world is losing every single second 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools of glacier. Now that amounts to the loss of 273 billion tonnes of ice per year. But what does that mean for us, the human race? We'll discuss in half an hour in perspective. And we're talking Tupperware, the brand founded in the 1940s that exploded in the 1980s and went bankrupt last year is back. A French entrepreneur buying the brand Tupperware France, aiming to give it a new lease of life. So who we have and who is ready? Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky saying it is crucial for him to establish at a summit here in Paris which countries will line up to contribute forces to oversee peace agreements. That as he'll arrive here in Paris later today for talks with France's President Emmanuel Macron ahead of the full coalition summit here tomorrow. Zelensky's comments after yesterday, of course, Russia and Ukraine agreed to halt military strikes in the Black Sea and on energy sites during talks brokered by the United States. Well, let's have the reaction and hopes from Ukraine itself. We're going to cross live to Kharkiv in Ukraine, talk to our senior reporter Catherine Morris-Trent, who joins us from there. Catherine, first of all then, tell us how closely this summit here in Paris is going to be followed there, of course, and what the reaction has been to that agreement between Russia and Ukraine to stop fighting for now, at least in the Black Sea.
Here in Ukraine's second largest city, we've spoken to people who said they're going to be keeping an eye out, of course, on what comes out of the summit.
Tuesday at 8 on ABC and ABC iView.
The government is rushing through legislation for its budget tax cuts, forcing the coalition to make a quick and consequential call. I'm Patricia Carvelis, live from the lands of the Ngunnawal people in Canberra. Welcome to Afternoon Briefing. Labor introduced its tax cuts to Parliament this morning, with the coalition voting against the legislation in the lower house. The coalition has called the policy a hoax and has hinted at an alternative policy to be revealed in the opposition leader's budget reply speech tomorrow evening. Will the government's wedge succeed? I'll ask the Prime Minister live later this hour. The coalition is undecided if it will support the government's proposed changes to non-compete clauses on employment contracts. Labor says it would ban the clauses for 3 million people earning up to $180,000. What does the crossbench think? I'll ask the independent MP Zoe Daniel. And Leonardo DiCaprio has weighed in on the controversial legislation to protect Tasmanian salmon farmers from legal challenges that the government is attempting to rush through the parliament this week. The American actor has called people to support the campaign to protect the Macquarie Harbour and shut down salmon farms. As we mentioned in our headlines, the government passed legislation for its budget tax cuts through the House of Representatives this morning in quite a hurry. The proposal would cut the taxes of all taxpayers by up to $268 in the first year and $536 after that. And if it's legislated, the coalition would have to legislate to wind them back. Now, the Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, got up in the House this morning targeting the coalition over their decision to oppose the cuts.
The Shadow Treasurer decided...
This is Asia Now.
It's 2 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 11:30 New Delhi, 1 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Genevieve Wu. At this hour, South Korea grounds firefighting helicopters after a crash kills a pilot. Authorities are racing to bring massive wildfires under control as the death toll climbs. Thailand's Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra sails through a no-confidence vote in Parliament, defeating a challenge from the opposition, who's accused her of being a puppet of her father. And the Indonesian rupiah managing to recover some strength against the greenback as the central bank says it is ready to intervene again. South Korean authorities say a pilot has been killed after a firefighting helicopter battling raging wildfires crashed. All firefighting helicopters have been grounded following the incident. At least 18 people have died and tens of thousands evacuated amid what authorities call the worst wildfire in recent history. Strong and dry winds have fueled the flames across the country's southeast. Dozens of people are injured. Officials say dry conditions are expected to persist. So far, the wildfires have scorched more than 17,000 hectares of forest and destroyed at least 200 houses and factories. Acting President Han Duck-soo has vowed to deploy all resources to contain the infernos.
역대 최악의 산불 기록을 갈아쓰고 있습니다. 정부는 무엇보다 산불 진화를 최우선으로 가용한 인력 장비를 산불 확산의 고리를 단절하는 데 총력을 기울이겠습니다. 아울러 근본 산불로 피해를 입은 피해자의 조속한 일상 회복을 위하여 긴급 구호를 비롯하여 행정적, 재정적 지원에 소홀함이 없도록 하겠습니다.
South Korea has raised its crisis level for forest fires to the highest and deployed some 6,700 firefighters. The blazes first began in Sancheong County last Friday, but have since spread to nearby cities. Homes and even historic sites have been completely gutted. Schools are shut and authorities were forced to transfer hundreds of inmates from prisons.
Hello there, good morning. The question is, has spring sprung for the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves?
Just hours now, Squishy delivers her spring statement with reports of the £36 billion tax raid.
That leaves many of you asking if the Chancellor can still be trusted with the public purse.
Public stability is non-negotiable. I will never play fast and loose with the public finances like the previous Conservative government did. I have returned stability to the UK economy.
But in a world of increasing tensions, there will be a £2 billion boost to defence.
Stepping up our defence capability to keep our country safe and secure, because a strong economy depends on strong defence.
The world has changed. In October, we had tax rises and spending. Today, we are expecting cuts to departmental budgets. We'll get the details at 12:30.
Also details from the English Channel. This is breaking news this morning. Small boat migrants arriving in Dover a short time ago have taken us over the 30,000 limit since Labour came to power. Well, this is a severe blow, of course, to Sir Keir Starmer's smash the gangs policy. That latest arrival, the Border Force vessel Ranger, arriving within the hour with 66 migrants on board, taking us over that grim milestone of 30,000.
Prince Harry leaves his AIDS prevention charity 20 years after he set it up in his late mother's honour.
Prince Harry describes his decision as heartbreaking, leaving one of the only patronages he retains after being stripped of his royal ones by Queen Elizabeth II. Why? More details shortly.
And meet the woman who's fostered over 100 children. She's a true community hero, and she's even been honoured with her own statue. You can meet her after 9 o'clock this morning.
It's a bit chilly out there at the moment, and there's even some fog around, but for most of us it's going to be a largely fine day. I'll have the details coming up.
2 minutes past the hour of 8 o'clock on this Wednesday morning. Thank you for your company. I'm Eamon Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Starting with some breaking news, and we can exclusively reveal that more than 30,000 small boat migrants have arrived in Britain since Labour came to power, and that is not even a year that has passed.
Well, it follows the arrival of 66 migrants into Dover Harbour overnight. All the details now, GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White. And Mark, what a headache.
City of Hong Kong has this tagline, innovating into the future.
Good morning, it's 8 o'clock. A lifeline for the Chancellor ahead of her spring statement today as inflation falls to 2.8%.
But big challenges still remain for Rachel Reeves. We'll hear where £5 billion worth of welfare cuts will fall as ministers scramble to find more savings.
It's Wednesday, the 26th of March. Your headlines. Expect further cuts to benefits in the Chancellor's spring statement and an unwelcome update on the UK's growth prospects. Donald Trump's national security advisor takes responsibility for the breach which put US military plans in the hands of a journalist, but the president brushes it off as a glitch. The Duke of Sussex quits the African AIDS charity he set up in memory of his mother because of infighting. Plus, at least 23 people have died in what's been described as the worst wildfires in South Korea's history. Good morning to you. A small boost for the Chancellor ahead of her spring statement today as inflation falls faster than expected to 2.8%. More on that in just a moment with our business and economics correspondent Gurpreet Narwan, who's here with us, as you can see. But first, more on what Rachel Reeves could announce today, including further benefits cuts, leaving ministers tightening the belt further still. Let's go to our political correspondent Mario Aurora, who's moved to Downing Street ahead of what's going to be a huge day in the career of the Chancellor and more broadly for the government. And reports, Murray, suggest it's gotten even harder this morning as it relates specifically to the cuts that will fall on the benefits bill.
Yeah, exactly that, Will. So remember last week we were talking about £5 billion worth of cuts to welfare, but it turns out the OBR are saying it's not £5 billion, it's only about £3.5 billion, and they've rejected ministers' calculations on that. So the DWP are going to have to find cash elsewhere to cut. So essentially what we understand is that about £500 million of
Africa News. The news.
At least 54 people were killed in a military airstrike on a local market in Sudan's western region, aid groups reported on Tuesday. The attack on the village of Tora on Monday, massive fire. The Sudanese military denied targeting civilians, calling the allegations incorrect. However, rights groups have condemned the strike, calling it a war crime due to its impact on densely populated areas. More than half of the victims were women and at least 23 others were injured. The ongoing conflict, which began in April 2023, has left over 28,000 dead with millions displaced.
This 5-year-old Sila Abu Aklan is practicing to walk for the first time on a prosthetic leg at a clinic in Gaza City. Sila is among thousands of children in Gaza who suffer life-changing amputations from the war. It has been nearly 15 months since the little girl's leg was amputated after it was left severely burned from an Israeli airstrike. Finally, she is being fitted for a prosthetic. It's difficult to see someone of her age getting amputated sitting in a wheelchair. Those are age play games: run, go out, climb stairs, and go to public places. Up to 17,500 adults and children suffered severe limb injuries, leaving them in need of rehabilitation and assistance, the World Health Organization estimated in September. I'm happy for him because he is going to return to normal life, to walk and move wherever without assistive devices or anyone's help, to go back to normal life like before. The UN's humanitarian aid organization OCHA called it the largest cohort of child amputees in modern history. Throughout the 17-month war, supplies and services for children and adults in amputations have fallen far short of demand. Each limb and device is tailored to each person's need, age, weight, and so on. To date, hundreds have benefited from this project, actually receiving the assistive devices we introduced during the hostilities and the ceasefires. Since the war began in Gaza, Israel has struck homes and shelters with families inside almost daily, killing more than 17,000 children under 17, including 4,800 under the age of 5.
These women are waiting at a makeshift family planning clinic in rural Sierra Leone. Women's reproductive rights, including the choice to abort, are on the cusp of a new dawn as Parliament of the West African country debates the Safe Motherhood Bill.
I was 16 years old. I became pregnant and I have to take abortion pills, which was a traumatizing one. I did it once, it didn't work. I did it for the second time, that didn't work. This gave me the cause to focus my education, my activism on SRH issue, because I've been a victim. I don't want other girls to be a victim of it. That's why one of the main reasons I'm pushing this bill. I'm in support of this bill.
But the bill has met opposition from religious leaders who want it revised to only permit abortion in the event of life-threatening risk, rape, or incest.
Certain things in this bill did not, support our religious values and sensibilities. So if on those grounds we are judged to be unfair to women, to be hard-hearted, and so be it.
Supporters of the bill say unsafe abortions account for around 10% of maternal deaths. Being illegal, those seeking the procedure go to backstreet clinics or use crude methods which often end in fatalities.
After 10 weeks of trial, French financial prosecutors are set to present their case against former President Nicolas Sarkozy and 3 ex-ministers on Tuesday afternoon. The prosecution will outline sentencing requests over 2.5 days, with final recommendations expected Thursday evening. Sarkozy is accused of striking a corruption pact with Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi in 2005 to fund his 2007
Thank you very much for giving time to Amir Shekel 5858. I am Amir Shekel. Have a good life. Bye-bye.